everyone, welcome back to WW with Leonora. Last night I didn't have such a great night as you might have seen in my last video. It was hard to stay on track, not sure why, but this is a lifestyle. This is not a diet. So sometimes in life we overeat and we just feel like binging, but you have to get right back on it. That's the secret. That's the thing. So today I'm making one of my all-time favorite go-to 0-point recipes, and that is butternut squash soup. So this is one of my favorites. As I said, it's 0 points. We're going to be using onion powder, parsley flakes, ground sage, and fresh sage. I only have a little bit because it only just started growing in my garden, so I grabbed it. But this pestle and mortar, hope I'm saying that right, will just, ground it down a little, pulverize it a little, make the flavor come out. Garlic, always use granulated garlic or powdered garlic powder. Tone's chicken base. This is my go-to for the base of a lot of my recipes. I really like to use Tone's chicken base. Today I'm going to add a little curry to this butternut squash soup. Curry's not for everyone. I personally like it, but I don't always add it. Today I will. And of course some basil leaves and a fresh onion. Fresh onion, I think, is the secret to this soup. It makes it sweet. When I have apples on hand, which I did last week, I will also add an apple. And of course, salt and pepper, as always. That's something, that's the staple. Okay, so let's get started. And here's the pan. So what I start with is just a little bit, of olive oil and extra virgin olive oil, which I have on hand all of the time. You're going to put this up to medium-high heat. I only use a teaspoon because I just want to bring out the flavor of the onion in this. I don't want to add points. It probably adds 1/8 of a point to your to each bowl if you want to count it, but I don't. So that's going to start cooking up, and I'm just chopping up the rest of this onion and adding it in. And what I did with the butternut squash, so I'll get a butternut squash. I'll show a picture to you of it whole in the description. And what I do with the butternut squash is I just, I cut off the bottom, and then I stand it up on that cut part. And you'll see that here. So this is the cut part, right? And it's whole. And I'll stand it up like this, and then I'll just slice it down that way, right? And then I put it in a pan with a 1/2 inch of water, face down, and I bake it on 350 for about a half an hour, and then I take it out. Now, I personally prefer roasted butternut squash, but you could take this dish with a 1/2 cup of water, and you could put it in the microwave for 15 minutes, and you'll get the same consistency of the butternut meat, the butternut squash meat. And so, that will be fine. So let's put this in there, mix it up. The oil helps bring out the flavor, the sweet flavor of the onion, so I like to do that. So let that go for a little bit. So let's just let that go. In the meantime, I'm going to take the little bit of sage, which you will be amazed at the flavor in this sage. And I'm just gonna, in this little bit of sage, you will get tremendous flavor. So I'm just going to, crush it a little bit the way you do to bring out the flavor in many herbs. You'll find one of these little things, this mortar and pestle. I use it a lot. I use it a lot of times I like to home grow mint and things like that. So if I'm making a mojito, I'll do that. I'll mush it on down here with that. So I put a little water in here because this way it'll take out whatever juices I squished out of the sage. So I'm going to put that in. Let that cook a minute. And then, very simply, I mean, I know some people peel this and then cube it up. It seems like a lot of work to me. So I cook it this way, and then, as you'll see, the meat just scoops on out. It's just scoops on out. So it's, you know, very simply scoops on out, and that's how I do it. So, oh, got a little skin left on here. Okay, I don't edit my videos, so you're gonna see some crazy things sometimes. Like yesterday, I dropped the can into the pot. Yeah, I don't edit them. Listen, this is real life. This is what happens when you're cooking. Sometimes there's some faux pas, and you just go along with it, and you know. So in the interest of time, I didn't let the onions cook down too much, but that's fine. I mean, as I'm scooping this out, they're cooking down there on the bottom, and they're releasing their fragrance and their flavor. But I like this because I like doing it this way, because you really do get like everything down to the skin without adding the skin. Mix that a little bit. You can smell it cooking there. So I normally use a much bigger butternut squash, but I've been eating it a lot lately, so I didn't want to make a big batch. So this is, oops, excuse me one second. So this is, you know, low power mode pops up when you're in the middle of making a video if you don't charge your battery properly beforehand, which my children are constantly teasing me that I do not charge my phone often enough or to full power. And we'll be in the middle of a phone call. I have adult children, 4 of them, and we'll be in the middle of an adult phone call, of a phone call, and I'll just cut out. It happens frequently, and they get frustrated. And, you know, they're used to this whole world of. I have some more peel in there. Let me get it out. They're used to this whole world of electronics. I am as well, but I think they're a little more adept at it than I'll ever be, even though I've been doing it a long time, as I'm sure most of you have. So, finish that, have it all in. This spoon was a little big. I can usually just cup the skin in my hand and scoop out the meat. I probably should have used a smaller spoon. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to add about a cup and a half of liquid, of water, and see what kind of consistency that I get out of the soup. And as soon as you add the water and you start breaking up a little bit of skin there. As soon as you add the water and start breaking up the butternut squash, you start getting that consistency that you like in a soup, in a creamier soup, which I think is the beauty of this soup. It's hearty, and by the way, the sage makes it even heartier. It's hearty, it's filling, it's 0 point. Again, unless you really want to count an 1/8 of a point for part of that teaspoon of olive oil. Okay, so at this point, I don't want to make it too salty, so this is kind of salty. So I'm taking the Tones chicken base, and you can use prepared chicken broth for this, or bone broth. I mean, I know a lot of people these days are using bone broth for everything. So you can use either one. Okay, and now I'm just gonna add the onion powder. I'm not a big measurer, but I would say 1/2 teaspoon. The garlic powder, which I'm pretty liberal with in most of my recipes. The basil, about 1 teaspoon. The salt I'm gonna forego until I taste it later, because the chicken base has a lot of a lot of salt in it. Definitely parsley. Gives it color and flavor, and when I have fresh parsley like I did yesterday, I definitely use that. Sage is, as I said, like the secret ingredient. And then if you have an apple on hand, it does add a level of sweetness. I've also added apple sauce in the past. Again, some more 0 points. And today, as I said, I'm going to add a little curry to this one to just mix it up a little bit. So, and as it cooks, this butternut squash meat will melt down in the liquid, and you're going to wind up with, as the fluid evaporates, you're going to wind up with this wonderful, thick, hearty butternut squash soup. Now, if you want it to mix up a little quicker, I have been known to use my potato masher, so that helps move it. But now I will tell you that my secret tool that was recently given to me by my brother and sister-in-law for Christmas is this immersion blender. Now, if you make a lot of creamy soups or things that need to be pureed, even mashed potatoes, this immersion blender is a really cool tool. This happens to be a Cuisinart one, and I honestly am so thrilled that they gave it to me. I mean, 40 years I haven't had one, and this is just so much easier than pulling out the blender for like a small batch of mashed potatoes. And you just keep it in. You don't want to pull it out because, you know, and then let it up, and then I press the first button and then the second. You don't want this hot liquid splashing up at you. So I make sure that I don't do that. And this makes it pureed and gives the soup that wonderful consistency. And it's just really, you know, if you have big clumps, like if the apples were in here, I would go over the top of the apple, blend it, go over the top of the apple, blend it. I don't have any really big chunks, but where I do, I'm just going to turn the immersion blender off, lift it up, put it down on the clump. Don't turn it on until you get it down on top of the clump, because you don't want to splash yourself with boiling hot liquid or very hot liquid. And, you know, just smooth out the soup so that you get that velvety texture. Now, when I have a really large butternut squash, you know, the immersion blender stays in there just a little bit longer. And then the nice thing about this immersion blender is, for the most part, you can give it a little squirt of soap and just rinse it. So that's what I do with that. And that's it. So you can see now it's gotten smooth. In fact, I'm going to give you a little bit better of a look. And it's gotten smooth and nice. And so that's what we're looking at now. So it's gotten smooth and nice, and it's cooking away. And in about 15-20 minutes, a little bit longer, 25 minutes maybe, on really low. So I have it, I'm going to turn it down to really low now and just let it simmer until the water evaporates and the flavors meld, and then you have this fabulous 0 point butternut squash soup. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions or comments, or you have different ways to make this, I'd love to hear them. So talk to you soon. Subscribe!